Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Before I get into it today, I want to be sure to tell you all to leave a like. Please comment and subscribe to the channel. Have a ton of content planned with the NBA playoffs right around the corner, as well as the first episode of my podcast going to be dropping around that same time with the start of the NBA playoffs. So please stay tuned in for that. But without further ado, as you can see from the thumbnail and the title of this video, the Mavericks season is over. Now, obviously, they're not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs or the play-in tournament, but what I've seen since the trade deadline and really, I should say, the last two games here against the Hornets in particularly, solidified to me that this season is done. They have no chance, in my opinion, of making the play-in tournament as it currently sits. With their remaining schedule and with some of the teams in front of them playing kind of at the rate that they are, the Mavericks are just not up to the standard that's really needed, which is crazy to say with a player like Luka Doncic to really compete at all in the play-in tournament, to just get to the 10 seed. The main reason that I'm making this quick video here is based off of these last two games against the Hornets, and I'm going to go into a slight deep dive here into both of those games, which I think is a microcosm of really the larger issues with this roster as a whole, and some of which I addressed as issues that they had previously that only got worse, trading for Kyrie, not addressing their issues with interior defense, addressing any issues with center play, addressing any issues with perimeter defense. And these two games are a perfect representation of why that is hindering this roster, hindering Luka, hindering the Dallas Mavericks from being able to be competitive in the West, only a year removed from making the Western Conference Finals. So I'm going to get right into it. They played back-to-back against the Hornets, or not back-to-back days, but two games against the Hornets. One on Friday, one on Sunday, which I'm recording right now just after the second one because it blew my mind to watch again. Both games, the team looked absolutely flat. They looked like a team that wasn't fighting for a play-in spot. They looked like they might have just been a one seed trying to coast when they started both of these games. I think they were down upwards of 20 or 25 points in the first quarter of both games to a Hornets team, mind you, with no LaMelo, no Kelly Oubre, no Cody Martin, no Terry Rozier. Let that sink in. A team that is that devoid of their best talent is blowing out in the first quarter of these games a essentially completely healthy Mavericks team. Obviously, Kyrie's dealing with some injuries. Luka, has kind of had some stuff lingering. But at the end of the day, you're on the floor, you're on the floor. There's no excuse for you to be losing to these teams. There's no reason for them to have been down at the way they were to the Hornets in these games. And granted, today, they came out, got hit in the mouth, were down by 20 plus, I think, or around there, and came back, were able to shoot their way back into the game, got a lead late, but what happened? Like I said, kind of in my trade deadline video, they had issues that they didn't address at the center spot. They have perimeter defense issues. And what hurt them down the stretch? Dennis Smith Jr. is catching lobs at the rim. Mark Williams is getting fouled and getting to the free throw line. Nobody can stop any type of dribble penetration. It's like a whole bunch of turnstiles. People are just getting blown past. It's not a level of basketball. It's not defense that is conducive to winning games or winning championships. Pulling up some of their stats here, they have the worst rebounding in all of basketball throughout the entire season. Least amount of offensive rebounds per game. I think it's the second least amount of defensive rebounds per game. In this game alone, let's pull up the stats for this Hornets game today on Sunday. They are playing against the Hornets, who this game started Mark Williams, rookie, at the 5. He had 16 rebounds, 15 and 16. He's looked really great as of late. So this is no shade to him. It's more so, again, indicative of the Dallas Mavericks not addressing their needs and their issues, really, I should say, with defense, both on the interior and the perimeter. But they have center issues, and this was known. This is why they made the decision to get Christian Wood and try to do the small ball stuff and just kind of say defense out the window. We're just going to win with offense. But as we've seen, the recipe to winning a championship over the last 2+ decades has really been you need to have a top 10 defense and a top 10 offense. So with the only exception, I think, really being the only team that even made the finals, being the 2018 Cavs, having a horrible defense, but that's a LeBron James-led team. Not many other people, if any other people, really can do something like that. The Hornets out-rebounded the Mavericks 58-37, a 21-point rebound differential. They had 14 offensive rebounds to the Mavericks 3. 3 offensive rebounds in the whole game. Points in the paint. The Hornets had 48 points in the paint. Almost 50 points in the paint against the Mavericks today. It's incredible to think that this team was in the Western Conference Finals last year and, in my opinion, are going to miss the play-in tournament just 1 year removed. Obviously, there's been roster shakeup, the biggest piece being Jalen Brunson leaving and going to New York. But when you have Luka Doncic playing at an MVP caliber level that he has all season long, the inability, this season more than any, for the front office to surround him with proper talent and proper lineups, coaching, sets being run, whatever you want to call it, it looks like a disaster across the board. There's an interview or a presser that came out where Luka said that this is the most frustrated he's ever been. He said, "You usually see me running around the court, smiling, a lot of joy," and that has kind of been lost, especially in these last few weeks since the All-Star break. And on top of all of this, Luka got his 16th technical in this game, so he's going to actually miss their next game against Indiana, which, again, like I said, at the point where they're currently sitting in the Western Conference standings, let me pull that up really quick so I can make sure I'm giving you guys the right numbers here. 3 games below 500. They're a half game behind the Thunder, and they're going to be playing a Pacers team who mathematically can still get into the Eastern Conference play-in, so they have a lot to play for. And you're going to be playing without your best player. They might lose that game too. And looking at the rest of their schedule, right after the Pacers game, they're going to be playing the 76ers. Embiid's going to eat them alive. So I would say that's probably a loss for them too. The Heat, I don't see them being able to beat the Heat. Again, the Heat jockeying for position out there in the East. Then they've got the Hawks, Kings, Bulls, and Spurs to close out the season. And even that last game against the Spurs, and this goes back to the beauty of the play-in tournament and something that I think is unforeseen positive of putting it in place, really, is that there's even more opportunities for teams that are out of the playoffs to play spoiler to some other teams who may be just trying to make the play-in tournament. And if it comes down to the last game of the season and it's a win-and-in situation for the Mavericks potentially to get into the play-in, well, you're going to be playing San Antonio, right, an in-state rival who, otherwise might not have had anything to play for, but they can stop their own in-state rival from getting into the postseason. That's something that Popovich, I know, would love to do. It would be a great way to end the season for a really young Spurs roster that's already, looking to the future, as they've been eliminated completely from the playoffs and are jockeying for that, that first seed in that Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. But none of these games are given to the Mavericks, and I could see, they might only get out of there with 1 or 2 wins. Like I said, the Pacers game without Luka is going to be tough. I don't see them beating the 76ers. I don't see them beating the Heat. The Hawks game is going to be really tough. The Kings game is going to be really tough. Sabonis is going to feast on them. Then you have the Bulls and the Spurs, like I said, and then ending the season with the with the potential of it being a really important game for the Mavericks, just gives that much more meaning for the Spurs to go out there and play spoiler. So, it's really disappointing to watch, what's happened to this team over the last year. Like I said, they had needs with defense that only got worse, trading away Dorian Finney-Smith and making the decision to go all in now on this year. Taking a risk, getting Kyrie Irving on an expiring deal, who, if I was him, just strictly from a basketball perspective, I wouldn't re-sign in Dallas. For what? The team does not look as constructed now to be competitive. Why would I re-sign here? Barring them, like I said, making moves to address their perimeter defense, their interior defense, to give them a big presence on the inside, they are not going to be able to be serious contenders. So why should he re-sign there? So Kyrie is, I think, a big risk to walk. And if he walks, you've lost draft capital getting him. You lost great value role players in Dorian Finney-Smith and guys like Spencer Dinwiddie. And after a few months, you're going to have nothing to show for it. So I really don't know where the team goes from here. Granted, Jaden Hardy has been a bright spot, and hopefully he can continue to get minutes here down the stretch where Jason Kidd allows him to just continue to play and develop as a scorer. He looks to have shown, as many expected, coming from the high-profile recruit that he was coming out of high school, ability to have a great shot creation, taking people off the dribble, ability to create and play make off the dribble. And so it could potentially work out where, he can develop and be that guy next to Luka. But again, he has to get there. And Luka is playing MVP caliber basketball right now. These seasons shouldn't be squandered trying to have to develop this talent. We've had years, or the Mavericks, I should say, have had years of trying to build and find the roster around him. And after making it to the Western Conference Finals last year, it seems like it's all really fallen apart for them, I should say. Tough season for the Mavericks. Like I said, they didn't address what they needed to at the trade deadline. I think the move for Kyrie was almost out of desperation to get to this point where they feel like they have, they're just going to overwhelm you with star power, and as opposed to addressing what seemed like pretty glaring needs on the defensive end and from an interior perspective for that team. So, moving forward, like I said, I kind of would be shocked at this point if Kyrie re-signs there. Jason Kidd, I would have to imagine, is on a pretty hot seat right now. Not sure what his job is going to look like come the end of this season. They don't even own their first-round pick this year. It is top 10 protected, but if it slides into 11th or 12th, it actually is going to New York from the Porzingis trade. So it looks like it could be a very, very bleak future for Mavericks fans. Yeah, so that's all I have for this video today. Like I said, just wanted to get this one out there pretty quick and get my thoughts off on this disappointing Mavericks game today. An overall disappointing season for them. But exciting stuff coming up with these last few games here in the regular season. The Western Conference play-in tournament is going to be Western Conference as a whole is going to be a dogfight, but fighting it out for these final four seeds here for the play-in tournament is going to be something to keep a close eye on. And like I said, going to have a lot of content coming out here over the next few weeks with the playoffs just around the corner. And then, like I said, launching my podcast soon around that same time. So please be on the lookout for that. Like, comment, subscribe to the video. I appreciate you tuning in as always. I'm out. Peace.